But I want to start out by introducing you to the true experts in what a properly formulated low carbohydrate or ketogenic diet is. And these are our experts. These are two Inuit women on the Canadian North Slope, the Arctic coast in summertime. And these people know more about how to actually, the right foods in the right proportions to allow people to, women to give birth and people to grow up and to have a healthy lifestyle. We don't have precise medical records on these people. We do know that some Inuit lived to be 70 or 80 years old because when they were interviewed in the 1940s, they could remember things that happened at the end of the last century. So it was not a death-dealing diet. It wasn't a diet that everybody died before they were age 30. The thing that we don't have, of course, is not only do we not have medical records in terms of longevity, they were not a literate culture, and they did not write down exactly what they ate. And so we don't know precisely from their writings, from their records, when they slaughtered an animal, what things they saved for themselves and what things they fed their dogs and what things they threw away. If you look at the garbage dumps around the places where they had their campsites, you can see, they ate, there were this many seals and this many walruses and this much whale, and sometimes when times were tough, they ate their dogs. But you don't know what part of that they ate and which part they threw away. So, not belaboring the point, there were some people who lived among the Inuit and wrote down things from their experience. So here's a pastel drawing that was taken from the diary of a very interesting Arctic explorer, a U.S. Army surgeon named Frederick Schwatka. And he wanted to find out what happened to the Royal Navy Franklin expedition. Sent expeditions into the Arctic, and the largest one ever sent into the Arctic to find the Northwest Passage was a two-ship expedition headed by Sir John Franklin. He had 129 men on these two ships. They were provisioned for about 5 years in terms of typical Navy food, which is salt, meat, and biscuit. And they sailed into the Arctic in 1843. They were last seen by a whaler in 1844, and then no trace of them after that. And it became a major quest in the mid to late 1800s to figure out what happened to them, and particularly to find the ship's logs, the written records, to determine the fate of these 129 men. And even by 1878 or 1880, it was known from interaction with some of the Inuit who lived in that region, who traveled outside there, that the ships were trapped in the ice, and the men died trying to drag their boats across the ice, trying to get to open water to get out from there. But no one had found their records. So Schwatka decided, rather than going into the Arctic with all his food and all his provisions and a big phalanx of men and sleds and horses or whatever, he said, why don't we just hire a couple of Inuit families and have them take us there? And so that's what they did. They hired two Inuit families. There were 4 European origin, 4 Caucasians in the party. They left the west coast of Hudson Bay in 1879, early winter of 1879, and traveled for 13 months, covered 3,000 nautical miles, and all of them came back alive. They got all the way up to out into the islands in the Canadian Arctic to King William Land, where the ships came to grief. They found skeletons, they found abandoned boats, they found lots of materials. They didn't find the ships, no men alive, and they didn't find the records. This was a remarkable journey in which these 4 guys adopted the Inuit method of travel, adopted the Inuit diet. They started out with just 1 month's food supply. They were gone for 13 months, so obviously after the first month, they were living on the diet that the native people lived on, which indicates that it's not a genetic capability, that the genes of these people and the genes of these people weren't different, that they could all live and survive on the same diet.